Welcome to the Inside Out Podcast, where we unearth and unleash the soul of the brand, revealing who you are in the inside, because your brand DNA has the power to fuel your business exponentially. And I'm Barbara Yolles Ludwig, and I'm really excited to introduce you to the brilliant example of inside out transformation with the very fabulous Joe Duran. Joe is a serial entrepreneur and wealth management visionary. He was the founder of United Capital, one of the largest independent wealth management firms, which was acquired by Goldman Sachs. And I think, Joe, you're one of those individuals who invested in branding and marketing when others really weren't even paying attention to it. His latest venture is the launch of founding of Rise Growth, where he's really igniting RIAs and wealth management firms and turning them into lighthouse brands. So, Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thrilled to be here. I love the intro.
And I've had the lucky pleasure of working with you, Joe, with Rise and with your portfolio of brands. But before we jump into that, you've had this huge career. You've worked around the globe. You've worked at all size firms, grown and sold them. Tell me something cool about Joe that would surprise people who know you only as Joe.
Well, probably that I'm one of the most balanced human beings you'll ever meet. And I think there's often people, one thing I'm proudest of is the people closest to me are most supportive and loving of who I am as a person. The people furthest away have the lowest opinions of me. So there's a lot of rumbling of people who don't know me who are like, oh, he's really arrogant. He's really full of himself. And the people who are closest to me know that I live to serve and to do good in the world. And a lot of people don't know I'm a very big student of philosophy and Zen Buddhism in particular. I've been a yogi for almost 30 years now, meditate every single day. And I'm a huge believer in the goodness and importance of how you contribute to the universe, which is why I care so much about branding.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I grew up in Zimbabwe with nothing. I left with $200 when I was 18. Started as an intern with a small investment advisory firm that we built into a great fintech firm that I sold to General Electric. And I want to share some lessons about branding from GE. And then obviously built my next firm, which based on what I learned from GE, really highlighted the importance of branding. And we built something very different, which we'll talk about in a second. Then I sold that to Goldman, another preeminent brand. And obviously now by the time we built Rise, I really believe that the success of a business, the value creation you can add beyond the economics is about brand. How much you get out of people, how much people believe in you, and the amount you can charge is all supported by what does your brand stand for.
Yeah. Well, I'm one of the lucky ones who knows you and knows what a loving, wonderful person. I learned some new things about you, and that's fascinating. When you look at Rise, and I want to talk a little bit about how you conceive Rise, but certainly the world didn't need just another firm who's going to invest and be number crunchers and bean counters. The value proposition of Rise is so unique in a category that's so wildly commoditized. And I'd love to just hear you talk a little bit about your journey and how you recognize the importance of branding and marketing and conceived Rise.
Well, the first big idea, honestly, is that even in oversaturated red water, to use the term that a lot of people use, there are pockets where other people are not. And what I recognized in our industry is everybody's singing the same song. Everybody is telling the same story. It's just a sea of sameness. And two things I've felt were true. Number one, you can make a huge difference if you just take a position and identify a segment that no one else is really focusing on. And for me, that was the middle market RIA, that $3 billion to $10 billion, good size, but not yet massive RIA, because those people have never run anything as big as they're running today. They need a lot of advice and guidance. They're investable because they're not just lifestyle businesses. And so below 3 billion, a lot of these businesses are really run by a founder who loves being the king of his kingdom. Sometimes it's a woman and it's a kingdom run by a queen. But But once you get to 3 billion, you're probably operating like a real company. And so that segment's interesting. The challenge is once you, and I've experienced this twice, 3 times, building companies that you've never run anything as big as the thing you're running. And so you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I thought money is not the real problem. These people need expertise. And it's not just around branding, it's around technology, it's around how you hire and manage your staff, it's how you compensate your teams, it's around how you scale geographically. And those ideas required more than just money. It required people who've actually sat in the seat. And so we assembled a group of people, Terry as an example, who ran Schwab Retail and worked at Wealth Enhancement Group, building them a lot bigger. Our head of technology worked at Schwab running their third-party technologies. Our head of marketing, as you know, ran one of the largest RIs in the country as CMO. And so we brought in experts that these firms could not possibly afford
Right.
and really become strategic partners for them. And we can find answers like, again, they would never know who you are. We bring people like you to help launch these firms in ways they couldn't. And because they have us and people like Jennifer and Jill, who are serious marketing executives, you get a lot more scale because you can work with people like me who built brands before, and you don't have to do all the educational work. And we
Right.
save them hundreds of thousands of dollars in raw work because we're here and we know what it means to build a brand. And
Right.
we did a whole brand name change and brand launch in a few months, which would normally take a year and a half, and you end up with very mediocre results. So I think adding that strategic insight
Yeah.
helps these firms get there much faster and avoid all of the mistakes they're going to have to make if they were to do a brand launch themselves.
Right. You use the term and getting to, having worked with you on Rise and One Point, and by the way, congratulations on Trilogy. That's wonderful to
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
you've got a new company in the portfolio. But talk about the role of, your how you envision the role of lighthouse brands, because I think it's bigger than what it sounds like at face value. It really does become kind of a compass for the
yeah.
brand and the business. And I'd love for you to share with the audience of your thoughts about the role branding plays.
Well, here's the way I use this term lighthouse brand. And we actually said that we're in the business of building lighthouse brands. What is a lighthouse brand? It speaks for itself. It's something that attracts people, that describes to people that people know what they're talking about when they're talking about brand. And what is a brand? A brand is a promise made, consistently kept. That's all that a brand is. It's not a name. It's what promise are you making to the marketplace, to whom, and how do you deliver it? And do you do it consistently? Because if you think about a firm like Schwab,
Right.
they're a very mediocre name. I mean, they might say it's a good name. I would say it's a very mediocre name, and yet it stands for something. When you think about Starbucks, and by the way, credit to Arthur Rubenfeld, who was their chief creative officer, was on my board for years. He was very good about, hey, Starbucks is a privilege. And everything we do is around reinforcing the promise that we make to the marketplace that you're going to feel comfortable and safe and warm when you come to our place. Now, they might deviate, but there is a promise made that you expect every time you walk into a Starbucks. That thinking is really well thought out in consumer brands. But in our industry, the wealth business, like lawyers and accountants, they're run by propeller heads who don't think about every experience they do, whether it's buying a car, whether it's buying a phone, going to
Yeah.
Apple, buying a Tesla. The brands that win have a very consistent brand promise that is always reinforced. And I want to talk about a broken brand as an example.
Uh-huh.
My wife, I have 3 daughters as well. My wife of 34 years used to spend a fortune at Whole Foods. And there was an implied promise about quality and like organic and good for the planet that was
Yeah.
always true. And price was low on the list of things that Whole Foods promise you, low
Right.
price. But there was a service experience, a feeling of going in there. Within 6 months of selling to Amazon, it felt like a completely different experience. It felt like you were going to a low cost, high turnover, lots of generic product, lots of name brand product that
Yeah.
there's their 365 brand, and they broke their promise to the marketplace. Now, I
Yeah.
have no idea how well Whole Foods is doing because it's buried inside of Amazon, but I cannot imagine, certainly when I look at our bills, that it has come close to being what it used to be.
Right.
So, what I think about when you think about brand is what is the promise you're making? And if you're going to deviate from that promise, you better have some very good reasons. And I'll give you an example where it's done really well. Like Apple, what is Apple's underlying promise? It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be easy.
Yeah.
With that mindset, they can do almost anything, and you know exactly what you're going to get when you unpack it. It'll be great,
Or
and
even when you walk in the
yes,
store, you know what I mean? They make it easy to interact with their people and identify
everything
the
reinforces
uniform.
the it's
Yeah.
beautiful and it's easy. And Tesla's copied some of that too, right?
Yeah.
It's simplistic and it's attractive and easy to use. And I think they would probably add innovative and cutting edge,
Yeah.
right? But I think when you're thinking about your brand, the question you should make is what's the promise we're making? And not 25 promises, two, maybe three. There should be no more really than two strong promises. Like at Rise, we promise you we're going to be good people and we're going to bring real world expertise. Those are the two pillars that we are. That we don't shy away from the we're good people thing. Like we actually, if you go to our website, talk about being lovely and things being beautiful. And in the private equity world, that is as alien as you could imagine, you
Well, I
know?
was gonna say, I mean, that was the fun part of working with you is and I remember there was a inflection point when we were building out the Rise brand and the Rise website, and you used words like love and joy and harmony and and it was like the light bulb went off. Like, this is a very different company who's who's speaking in a different way, even though at the end of the day, you know, you're investing in firms that are seemingly commodities, right? Transactional businesses. But the value you're bringing is so tremendously different. And the way you express it is so tremendously different. And it is felt at every interaction with with your Rise team.
I'll give you a concrete example. When I was building United Capital, there were a lot of RIAs. We were just starting De Novo. It was 2006. I just finished grad school. And I thought, you know, nobody talks about life. Every wealth management firm talks about money and their long history. And I think that money is an emotional category. So I'm not going to talk about performance. I'm not going to talk about brains or skills. I'm going to talk about life and what really matters.
Hmm.
And our brand promise at United Capital, the last firm I built, it was really about emotions
Hmm.
and helping you make great choices about life. Those were the two things. So we brought in behavioral economics to reinforce that. When you went to our website, there were flowers and nature, not Chicago Library. And
Right.
we talk about we're here to improve lives. That was our motto. We improve lives. And it was three words. And everything we did, does this improve our clients' lives?
Yeah.
And it meant we could talk about much more interesting things than the returns on your portfolio. Now, interestingly enough, when we started, people could not believe what we were doing. If you look at the wealth management business now, 20 years later, it's filled with talking about life and your families. But that was not the case 20 years ago.
No, I would imagine it was not them. But even now, Joe, what you're building is still remarkably different because you're revealing all the uniqueness of what each of your portfolio companies is doing.
Well,
And you
that's how
don't
we think
do
about it.
that.
Each of our
Yeah.
firms is okay, what is their promise to the marketplace?
Yeah.
Who does it resonate to? And how does it attract people? And by the way, this is not just for clients, it's about the talent and how you attract people who want to work for your mission. It's about making sure that what you're innovating and doing and your internal team is working on is reinforcing this idea of what you stand for. I
Right.
will just say that there's very little introspection and we brands become a reflection of what's happened rather than an intentional choice. It's like culture, and culture should be a reflection of what the brand promise is. But as you'll find, and I've found this with almost every CEO I've ever met, They all think they're great marketers. Everyone seems to think they know how to market.
Yeah.
And I will literally just say to them, well, what's your promise? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, if you're a good marketer, you must know what you're promising your clients. And they will then go into a 5-minute spiel about how they will bring peace of mind. Da, 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 da. I'm like, look, can you just tell me in 5 words or less, what's your
Right.
promise?
Yeah. Right. Stand for something. We've talked about this. Stand for something, prove it, and then ignite and rally everyone around that, and
Ours is very simple.
emotionally.
We're going to help you be awesome.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to do. We are here to help you win. That's it. And it's very easy to coalesce around that message. So what does Rise do? We help you win. Like that is what we exist to make you awesome. And that's easy to remember. You know, that's what a lighthouse is. And guess what? We get inbounds all the time saying, I want to win. I want to be awesome. Well, that's what we had to do.
Right. Do you when you're exploring companies that you're ultimately going to partner with, you're obviously competing with other firms who are not talking that language. Uh, is the reaction refreshing? Are they confused? Are they, these
Well,
are
I think in
entrepreneurs in
most
their
of
own
the
right. I would
time,
imagine they're ignited by you.
they, of course, they always have fun because we we have three very simple values here. Number one, we're good people. Number two, what we do matters. And number three, we love what we do. And it's reflected in anyone you meet from Rise. Like they're humans first, passionately engaged in improving the world. And of course, that's very different. It's also really true that when I get on the phone, I know exactly what their aches and pains are. There's no PE firm that they'll get on, they'll talk about math, and I'll just say, how are you dealing with this, this, and this? And
Right.
they'll go, oh my God, this guy knows exactly where we're sitting. And it makes them uncomfortable because they know that I'm going to find whatever is broken and I will tell them if it's fixable or not.
Right.
But there's no secrets with our team. Like they can't pull a fast one over on us because we know
Right.
exactly.
Well,
We know
you've
what they're going to face coming up to.
right. I mean, you've run a business. It's not some PE firm or investment firm who has an MBA in analyzing numbers, which you do that, right? But it's more about how to run a business, how to build a culture, how to scale, and they want to tap into that expertise.
And I'll tell you, look, underneath every brand, including ours, what people want to know is that you care, at least in the service business.
Mm-hmm.
And what is unquestionable when they meet anyone on our team is we care deeply about the well being for them and their shareholders and their clients and
Yeah.
their employees. Like that permeates everything we do. And will we pay the highest price? Probably not. But they go, at least I know I never have to wonder, do these people, will they ever ask me to do the wrong thing because it makes them an extra dollar? That
Yeah.
would never, ever happen. And the luxury of having had some success, I don't have to be doing this. I'm doing because I genuinely love it and want to make a positive impact. And
Yeah.
as you know, I do a lot of social media, a lot of campaigning, a lot of writing. I've been doing it for decades. And so I have a brand myself, which reinforces it. Everyone goes, oh, this is the logical thing for this guy to do.
Yeah.
Even when people are like, why are you even doing this exactly? And I'll be like, well, I exist to make a dent.
Yeah.
My personal motto is very simple. It's been the same for decades. I help brilliant people do brilliant work. Well, I can't do that if I'm sitting on a beach.
Right. Exactly. Well, so, on the Rise site, we talk about beauty and meaning and joy and growth and how they all coexist at Rise. It almost sounds like the 70s with peace, love, and harmony. And so I'm going to take a commercial break, which is, it's funny. We're working with a new client, and the target audience is people entering older adulthood and how they're going into older adulthood screaming and kicking. And that, there was a meme recently around a senior moment is about being a teenager, right? A teenager is like, I'm rock climbing, I'm fly fishing, I'm traveling the world. So we coined it the age of inspirement, that it's not about retirement. And so one of our clients is Audion, and they have the Atom and the Ion to help you with hearing. And so I wanted to do a commercial break for Audion. They come in this cute little pod, and they're fit inside your ear or around your ear, and you can buy them over the counter or online at audionhearing.com or at Walgreens or CVS. And they're kind of democratizing hearing. So these boomers, 10,000 of them going into older adulthood or 65 plus, who are used to probably smoke pot and wear hip, hip, what do you call them? Hip pokers and go-go boots, can now hear and keep living fully. So now back to the show, Joe.
Okay, right. Did you say something?
Anyway, it's fascinating and we could have a whole conversation about hearing. But
Yeah.
anyway, so you've seen the industry really change and shift. You've been from every level to the top of the, Goldman Sachs top floor. And so, when you think about the lessons you've learned and as you're looking at the firms that you're supporting now, what do you think you look for in terms of their DNA? Like, what are the critical ingredients that reveal what the brand stands for?
Well, before we go there, I'd like to just share the advantage of having sold to GE and then to Goldman,
Yeah.
being a senior person, being a
Yeah.
partner there. The power of the brand, GE, a lot of the people on this call maybe remember, it was a preeminent brand in the
Yeah.
90s. We sold to them, run by Jack Welch. We were one of the last deals he approved. And then Goldman, the same thing. We really saw it at Goldman. When we moved over to Goldman and our firm changed from United Capital to Goldman Sachs Personal Financial Management, the amount of inflow from our existing clients was breathtaking.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that changed was the brand. So we had a great brand. Goldman was unquestionably a stronger brand.
Yeah.
If anyone asks, and I don't think Goldman would ever say this, but I would say to the folks at Goldman, like, if anyone ever thinks about what our brand is, we're the smartest guys in the room, guys and gals. That's how people think about Goldman. They might have some negative things to say, but the number one thing they'll say is, well, they're not dummies. And it's really true, by the way. When you're there, which I was for 4 years, they are the smartest people in the room. Um, I think when we look to partner with firms, there are three things we look for that are non-negotiable for us. The first one is, are they growers or knowers? In other words, do they think they know it all? Or do they think that they need to learn how to be as good as they can be? Because we can't really partner with somebody who's smarter than we are. And we're not smart. Like, we go in saying we're going to make mistakes, but we got to ask. We got to listen to our clients. And first thing we do is a client survey to understand from our clients, why do they care about us? And very often what they'll tell us, in each brand we invest in, the first thing we do is a client survey that tells us specifically what they care about and like and respect about our partner.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, every firm has a different set of things, a different patina the
Mm-hmm.
clients appreciate about them. Even if they have not been very thoughtful about their brand, they have showed up a certain way. For some firms, it's about, hey, I know that they treat me like I'm the only client in the world. For others, it's, I know that every detail will be taken care of. For another group, it might be, I don't have to worry about my future because I know they're worrying about it. There's just a different resonant message that your clients will tell you. So the first thing we do is here, and you've got to have a partnership team, a CEO that's willing to listen.
Right.
Because if they start by saying, we know why our clients like us, that's a good message. We're not going to be very successful because they've already stubbornly been dogmatic. And you have to be fluid in this world. You have to understand brands evolve, the marketplace evolves. You have to be adaptable. So the first is you have to be a grower versus a knower. The
I love
second
that.
is
I'm going to borrow that one, Joe. That's such a great phrase.
the second one is you have to be a giver versus a taker. I don't do really well with selfish people who just want. I'm a huge believer in make the pie bigger and your slice will grow.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I've always given away the vast majority of the equity of the businesses that I own to my partners, to my fellow employees. And I've done it because I would much rather have a very big pie, even if it's a smaller slice, than a huge slice of a very small pie. Like,
Right.
I'm here to make a dent in the universe. And I know that if I am able to slice the pie around, everyone will contribute and make the pie bigger. And a lot of people, that's not how they think. I live in a world of abundance, but a lot of people will live in a binary world, fixed
Hmm.
pie. The more they get, the less I get. And I'm not of that mindset. I'm an and human being, not an or human being, which means, hey, I'll give and you will grow and then you'll give back and it'll work itself out. That
Yeah.
doesn't work if you're with somebody who's like, okay, I'll take, I'll take, I'll take. So giver versus taker really, really matters.
Yeah.
And then the last is I'm a huge believer that you have to have a merit based culture, not an aristocracy. So meritocracy versus aristocracy. A lot of RIAs are built on very big personalities
Hmm.
and they want everything to stop at their doorstep. And the top of the bottleneck is always at the top of the bottle. So if you have somebody who needs to control every decision and needs to be the king or the queen of their universe under all conditions, it's very hard for us to partner with them
Right.
because their ego gets in the
Kind of
way
a
of
non,
the best
it's a
outcome.
non-negotiable. Yeah, it's a non-negotiable because they
So
can't.
those are the three very simple things that we know if they are a grower, a growth mindset, if they are a giver and want the world to be better because of their presence. And lastly, if they are willing to be merit based, that's what we look for. And if they have those three things, we can get through almost everything.
I love that.
Boys, too. I look for that for my friends.
I got, I mean, I'm lucky because I got to see it firsthand with you. I'm curious, we're now almost a year from the relaunch of One Point, which went through not just a rebrand, but an entirely new name.
Yeah.
And they were certainly willing and giving and merit oriented from the get-go. I'm so curious, was there a moment for you that was, kind of a confirmation of what lighthouse brands can mean as you're building Rise?
Well, I'll tell you, it was amazing when they had a pipeline of only 200 million, which sounds like a lot of assets
Mhm.
potentially joining them. When we launched as our partnership, and what we were going to be doing together and their brand promise about creating an amazing place for advisors to help their clients. And it really changed. Like within a month, they'd gone from 200 million to almost 10 billion in pipeline, literally
Wow.
in a month, which is simply articulating what they were doing in a way that resonated and that we obviously got a lot of press coverage for it. Um, that is what worked. And I'll share, look, it's people love PR, and I always say to them, PR is only good if you have a message that's worth listening to.
Right.
And and you've got to do that by building credibility. I'm a huge believer in credibility marketing, which means that you're providing value with every piece of information you put into the marketplace. It's not just, oh, we've acquired so and so. If you can embed content that's interesting beyond people interested in who's doing M&A, that's really useful. And
Mhm.
with One Point. Like as soon as they announced what they were doing and how they were doing it, it got picked up everywhere because we added narratives to the story that were different.
Yeah.
And look, they're the most delightful people in the world.
Yeah, I love
By the
people.
way, just as a measure, they were at about 8 billion in assets 14 months ago. They just crossed $15 billion in the last month.
Wow. And they haven't even,
So,
the rebrand, I believe, was in June, so they haven't
yeah,
even hit a year.
yeah,
They're already 2x.
yeah. So they will end this year, 2026, I'm guessing well over 20 billion. And they were at 8 billion 14 months ago. And we
Right.
only did the rebrand, as you know, like 9 months ago.
9 months ago.
So
But
it's been a
the brand, Joe, is bigger. People hear brand and they think, oh, it's a theme line, it's a advertising message. It's so much bigger than that because the work we did together was around, and particularly with One Point, because we had to come up with a new name, which naming requires its own
yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
We'll do a name podcast another day.
yeah, yeah,
But once we landed on it, was igniting everyone internally, having them all really buy into what the brand is. And, to the point you made earlier, is you want to improve people's lives. And that's really what you're doing, both with the people inside of the companies and their customers or clientele. And I think that's where the power is, when the brand becomes a compass for everything you do.
And look, and I think again, when it fails is when it's put together by marketing people without honestly reflecting the authenticity of the firm. It
Hmm.
doesn't work if it's not authentic. So the number one thing people can take away from this is you can't put it on a piece of paper and say, this is what we're going to be. You have to be it. And as long as it's authentic and the words you're writing reflect honesty, which is why we start with hearing from clients, customers,
Yeah.
because they know what you are. They know why they're with you. And they won't be necessarily what you think, but
Right.
you have to be open minded to it. But if it is not authentic, you'll get nowhere because
Right.
people will hear it and they'll show up and they'll be like, hold on a minute, this isn't at all what this told me it would be like.
Right.
If we say we improve lives, but we make your life miserable, well, guess what? That's not useful. If
No.
we at Rise say we're here to help you win, but we're actually getting in the way of your winning, then that's going to come out very, very quickly. But if it's true, then they become our biggest advocates of the people we've actually invested in. Like we just say to anyone who's joining us, just go call randomly any of the people that we've partnered with, because they'll tell you whether it's real or not. And
Yeah.
there's nothing more powerful because then everyone who works at your firm can honestly say, this is what we're about. And they know it will be true no matter where you go. It doesn't work if it's inauthentic, if the CEO and leader doesn't reflect it at their core. And that
Right.
is the one thing I will say we often see is a incongruency, a difference between the words and the actions.
Yeah.
And you, a great brand, there is no air, there is no oxygen between or
No.
light between the promise and the action that people see. And then it's articulated in words that are memorable and short. And the last message I'll just send around branding. If it takes more than 10 words, it's not a brand promise.
It's not a brand. I agree with you.
What we're doing then is
Right.
boasting.
As
And
Mark Twain
boasting
said,
is not
if I had
appealing to
more
people.
time, I'd make it shorter.
Yeah,
Right.
you like again, I think people love fancy words and then they're like, oh, doesn't this look great? And then people read it. And I'm
Yeah.
always like, look, if my 18-year-old daughter doesn't find this interesting, it's the wrong brand message.
Yeah.
It has to be like unquestionably easy. Anyone can say it, anyone can repeat it. And Ritz Carlton, the old one, ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. I get it. I know what that means. I don't need a lot of explanations about what the heck that means. They're
Right.
nice people. I'm nice people. We're going to treat each other with respect. I don't need any more words. And as long as they deliver on that, I know exactly what I'm getting.
Right.
Great brand promises are short and pithy and simple. Like we help build lighthouse brands. Oh, I don't need a lot of explanation about what that means. We help you to win. Oh, I get that. It's like it's not
Doesn't
it
have to be
doesn't
so
need to
hard.
be a science project, like allow for anyone to be able to say it.
I would imagine there are a lot of companies out there who want a dose of rise. Maybe they're not quite ready. They're not ready to go full in, but they want the expertise, they want the brilliance, they want to win. Can they interact with rise? Can they have a seat?
Yeah, well, look, we do it automatically just because we're here to make the world better, and I don't know, I would say countless hours of helping people think about what they do, and we're always happy to help. Obviously, our primary focus is helping our partners who've committed to us and we've committed to them.
Yeah.
We have talked about like we're kind of like a McKinsey for wealth management. So we've
Yeah.
we've had a lot of people say, "Can I just join you and get trained and then advise?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're not there yet. We've been around for 2 years. We've made a huge dent in 2 years, which is really exciting. And honestly, the good news is the third time around, it's a little easier than the first two times. So
Right. You know where
yeah,
all the
where the
landmines
bodies
are.
are buried. Yeah. So
Where, is this like, what's next, Joe? What's next?
I
You're
think
such a visionary.
I think for now one of the most important things we're doing is figuring out the role of AI. Like, I know it's cliched,
Hmm.
but I'm not what we're able to do with technology, and it's really upending marketing. Like what I can do today with Claude, coming up
He's
with brand messaging, packaging it, making it look a certain way. It's just breathtaking. And so everyone who is on our team every week has to come up with current usage. So I don't believe our industry will look the same in 3 years. Now it's not next year, but in the next 3 years. And the people who can most impact are actually our partner firms because they're big enough to invest in it and not so big that they've got legacy systems that they're going to get rid of. So the people who are going to suffer the most are the barbell. They're too small to invest in it and too big to move beyond the legacy systems. So this is an amazing time for middle market firms to apply AI, most especially agentic AI, like this technology now that allows for a client to sit in on a call with an advisor and have a not just note taking, actually say, go open the account, and it goes in, pre-populates the forms, can run a financial
incredible.
plan. Now you still need a human, but in the next year, the advisor will literally be walking the client through the process and just stress testing what the AI
Yeah,
uses. Now, I don't know what the future of software looks like because you might not need any of the traditional software. And the AI will tell you what you're not asking. So you will be able to have a lower quality financial planner who actually is able to walk you through a process that
right.
planning that's more sophisticated than any individual could do,
So
asking scenarios
exciting.
you could not imagine. And we're doing it right now with tax prep, with this firm called Tax Status. We were able to take 10 years of returns and tell you all the opportunities missed that your accountants weren't able to identify. It's, I just think if you're not eyeball deep in reimagining how you're going to be wiped out by AI, then somebody else is.
Yeah.
That's what you
No,
just
I
need.
think it's the perfect combination, especially in the wealth management and RIA business. It's the perfect combination and tool to accelerate the human aspect of it with the tech side of it. And what an
Exactly.
exciting,
Yeah,
exciting time to experiment and with the companies that you're working with. So, Joe, thank you so,
of
so much.
course.
Joe, you were like the ultimate example of what inside out branding and transformation and lighthouse brands is all about. You've built so many things that are so just authentic and real. And I love, we help you win. So if you want to win, I would highly encourage you to reach out to Joe Duran and his incredible team of experts at risegrowth.com. I'm Barbara Yolles Ludwig, and this has been the Inside Out Company Podcast.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Barbara.
so
And
much.
thanks for all your help with our partner firms, by the way.